So welcome back to Third Rate Content. Today we are out in the Shropshire countryside on this absolutely glorious mid-May day, and we're going to be exploring the village of Wroxeter. We're not going to be investigating the Roman town, the former Roman town of Vernoculium, Wroxeter today, but the focus of today's video is going to be the village of Wroxeter and the fantastic and steeped in history church here in Wroxeter, which we're going to find out all about when we visit it. And it's actually made from the remains of the nearby Roman town. So buckle up and I'll see you out here. Start of today's video, we are surrounded on two sides with ancient hills with hill forts atop them. As you saw, we had the Caradoc, which we have visited on this channel. Words. I'm having trouble getting the words out there, but we have visited Caradoc on this channel 12 months ago, and just behind us, the Wrekin, home of the Cornoville tribe, who inhabited this part of Shropshire and many other places. So yeah, we've got it all around us here, the history, the layers upon layers of history, surrounded by it. It's fantastic. It's beautiful to see all the spring flowers come out, the flowers that are really associated with this time of year, the rebirth month of May, the merry month of May. But I'm tempted to make a crown out of these. Only joking, but I might. They've been making wine here at Wroxeter for many years. I mean, there's been a vineyard here as long as I can remember, and I was, as I mentioned it probably in another video, I don't know if you've watched it, I was a trainee plumber for a short while in this sort of area, and that was in the late 1990s, and the vineyard was going then and been going for years. But it just seems lots more vineyards have been popping up in Shropshire more recently, and probably around the UK, but perhaps they've been making wine here since the Roman times. Who knows? If anybody does, tell us in the comments. Got these kind of workers' cottages at this end of Wroxeter, because of course there's going to be farm labourers needed for the many agricultural works that are going on in this part of Shropshire. Or most parts of rural Shropshire, it's a very agricultural county. There's some pretty grand, more modern houses here next to the workers' cottages. Yeah, it's got its fire insurance badge here. Yeah, you'd want to protect a fine farmhouse like that from a possible fire. Although I don't know how long it would have taken the fire service to get out here in the 17 or 1800s. It's something I am thinking whether it is worth the money or not, because you have got a brook right next to us here. You can actually hear it. Yeah, I don't know if the fire insurance would have gone to the fire service coming out here and providing pumps to pump out the stream, to put out the fire. I don't think it ever needed to happen, but I still question whether it was worth getting fire insurance. You decide and tell me in the comments. The farmhouse walls, pretty higgledy-piggledy and interesting. Yeah, I don't know if they are cannibalised or reused stone from Wroxeter, but they do look pretty ancient. And of course, the village of Wroxeter grew up after the Roman settlement of Vernoculum, Wroxeter, stopped being used in the sort of 4th century by the Romans. Of course, there was a few hundred years of use after that, and I imagine the village was kind of growing up in these late stages, sort of after the Romans had gone, of course. Old looking relic in that back garden. Just shows you the level of history here at Wroxeter and the reuse of old materials, make them into something not new but new old, if that makes sense. And here we haven't got a lich gate in Wroxeter, but what we have got is ancient Roman columns directly from Wroxeter. Beautiful and historic. Yeah, these columns definitely make up for the lack of lich gate. That's ancient history just right here. Everyday use. The Roman columns here are actually mounted on the bases, if you can just see that, of further Roman columns. So these ones weren't originally at Wroxeter mounted on these, but when they were sort of reusing the masonry, they joined these two up, and they've been together now for 1,700 years. Because that is when it is thought, historically, this Anglo-Saxon church would have been built here in about the year AD 700. At the height of the Saxon invasions into Western Britain, what is now the Marches area, and it was only like 100 years before that Cumdillan, St Dillon, was wiped out, his family wiped out, and the last leader of Penguin was taken from us by the Saxons. That's a really strange little stairway up into the churchyard. I've got no idea how long it has been here. But it's probably absolutely ages, like the rest of the church and stuff around here. Wow, this tombstone grave marker tomb been completely wrecked. I don't know how old it is or when this damage occurred, but it's significant and severe. lightning strike or strike from a sledgehammer, who knows? It was nothing to do with me. Missing off this one. Sacred to the memory of something, someone's daughter of Christopher and Sarah Stafford, I think. Yeah, this looks like the site of a former tree. It was a mighty old tree and it's not here anymore. Nothing remains except that little tiny bit. Yeah, Wroxeter was thought to be the site of a Christian basilica in the late Roman period. Yeah, and the early Saxon church was thought initially to have been a small monastery. Of course, the church system worked a bit differently in the Saxon world, or Saxon Britain or England, to mainland Rome, mainland Europe, and the purely Roman faith, which all sort of got joined up after the Norman conquest. Yeah, and the Domesday Book does mention 20 years after the conquest in the 1080s that Wroxeter Church had 4 priests working from here, which sort of makes it a bigger than average community church, sort of backing up the possible monastery connection. At the time of the Norman conquest of 1066, Wroxeter and the district surrounding it was held by one Thored, the very Saxonly named. You couldn't get a more Saxon sounding name, I don't think, than Thored. Certainly those types of names moved out of land holding as the Norman conquest happened, in the subsequent years. When this church was built in the 700s, sorry, we don't know the name of the architect, but the roofing materials would have been quite different from these tiles that are on there now. Yeah, Saxon churches were often roofed with heather and other sort of materials, organic materials that could be found. So the clay tiles came along later in the medieval period, sort of 1300s, I think. Yeah, it's very interesting to see that this tomb grave marker, the rails around it were completely left alone during the war, World War II, when they were taking iron for the war effort from graves like this. I suppose they left this perhaps because there wasn't any others with iron and it wasn't worth the trouble, especially when all the iron, I've read, just got chucked under a railway bridge or bridges and not actually used. It was more for morale, sort of propaganda type thing. If you have any opinions on that, tell us in the comments. Yeah, the wall behind me, the sort of eastern 2/3 of the nave, is thought to be the oldest part of Wroxeter Church. That would be, of course, St Andrew's Church, Wroxeter. Huge blocks are quite unusual in church construction, especially stonework as early as the 7th century. Generally, churches were made of timber in this period, and probably for another couple of hundred years after, until especially country churches like this were made of more lasting and permanent materials, stone. But obviously stone was not in short supply here at Wroxeter, what with the Roman city nearby. But people in the medieval sort of time did tell stories that not the devil, that giants built Wroxeter. Of course, they couldn't explain such high standard workmanship at that period where things had regressed. So, of course, giants were employed for folklore purposes to explain who built it. But it didn't put off the locals of Wroxeter. Although, like you say, giants built it, didn't stop them cannibalising the stone for building projects that were contemporary to them. Yeah, that is thought to be a blocked up window right about there from, you know, the 7th or 8th century, around when this church was sort of built and first in use. The triple lancet window is from later. Really interesting sort of sandstone work here. I'm not sure if I'd call it long and short work, but it's definitely stands out from the rest of the stonework on this eastern end of the north wall. This blind window. Yeah, the chancel here on the south side of St Andrew's Church was added in the 1300s. Of course, the chancel's on the north and south side, but we're just on the south side of it right now. Got that really interesting, I think it's dogtooth pattern on the stonework here. On the eastern window. Yeah, that is actually, I believe, a blocked up priest's doorway. Gorgeous stonework again. These ones are looking very lost and abandoned, what with this clump of ivy growing on top of this box tomb. You can't even see the tomb, just the shape of it. Here at the south porch of St Andrew's Church, and I've just had a check. The church is open. We're going to go in and have a look. So buckle up. The church here has actually got really old, not tile, brick floors. I don't think they're imperial standard size, the sort of Victorian bricks. I'm not sure though, but they're definitely brick. Yeah, I think there was a south arcade here up to the Victorian era, but it was removed, I imagine, for safety purposes. Yeah, the font here is very plain. No carvings, intricate carvings on it. But what's really interesting is it's an upturned base of a Roman column. That's what you call history. History layered upon history. Yeah, because of course, other than its action serving the Roman Empire, it's also must have seen thousands of christenings and other religious ceremonies in its secondary life as a church font. Amazing. Although I say it's plain, the rough beading on the font's rim is thought to be Anglo-Saxon. Amazing. And the Anglo-Saxons were pretty obsessed with the Romans, but they could see the workmanship of the Romans all around them, and they did their best to emulate it in the Romanesque style, the bungling Romanesque style, as the author H.P. Lovecraft called it. Yes, the arch leading from the nave to the chancel is thought to be carved by the Anglo-Saxons. Sort of floral work kind of gives it away a bit. Experts say, but it looks real pretty anyway. Yeah, this box memorial still retains most of its colour. It's beautiful. Yeah, I think it's made of alabaster. Thomas Bromley, who died in 1555, he was the Lord Chief Justice of England, and he is with his wife here. Probably this was done by Richard Parker of Burton upon Trent. I'm not sure why their hands are missing though. Plain box pews of this church are thought to be made of oak and date from 300 years ago ish. Some of the stained glass work here in the nave is medieval, but most of it is from later. Yeah, probably the 19th century. Some of it was made by well-known Shrewsbury, Shropshire stained glass maker David Evans. A bit more iron, unclaimed by the War Office in World War II. Nice to see. And they're coming together, these two, in death. Oh, the weather has really got to this memorial, if that's what it was. There's hardly anything left of it, just crumbling ruins, and there is no writing to be made out from it. Yeah, thank you for joining me on today's third-rate adventure, micro adventure in the depths of Shropshire, and it has been really interesting. I've been wanting to come and do this church for ages, and here we are in the beautiful weather, and it's lived up to my expectations. Hope it's lived up to yours if you had any, or you enjoyed the video. But anyway, if you did enjoy today's little ramble and visit to this archetypal layers upon layers of history church, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment if you want to chat. I do love a good comment, and I read them all, and I reply where applicable and appropriate. I'm gonna go home now, have a little rest, and hopefully get to see the Aurora Borealis tonight. Maybe not. I'm gonna be pretty open-minded about it. I missed it last night, but then again, I've been working all week. I'm covered in bites. You don't want to know what I've been doing, but I'll tell you, I've been cutting down a massive conifer bush. So I got attacked by loads of biters. I was tired last night. I had a couple of beers and went straight to sleep about 9:30. So fingers crossed we get to see it tonight. But please join Third Rate Content in future for loads more historical walks and investigations. So if I don't see you soon, I'll see you 3 times as soon. Third Rate Content, sign out. Bye bye. Oh, and just one more thing before we go. What about this? What I find really interesting, well, pretty interesting, here at St Andrew's Church in Wroxeter, is there is no path in, so to speak. You've just got the raised banks on either side of the Roman columns greeting you into the church, but then it's just like a earth basin. So I don't know what the score is there really, but I mean, it doesn't look really well used, so I don't know how often or how intensely the church is used, or if there ever was a path here, or it's always been grass. If anybody knows, once again, tell us in the comments.